Your imagination is your greatest asset to help you design and create the life that you want. If you can consciously and actively design and impress your mind with your imagination, everything becomes possible. The challenge is that we are often very indisciplined and misuse our imagination, right? Because we live from memory instead of living from imagination, and deny what is and what was and just focus on what we want to create, like focus that energy and that mental picture toward designing something greater. We live based on memory, what used to be, what was, the thought system, the old paradigm that we project on now, our now moment, and on the future. And so we keep on recreating the same thing, because if you perceive your life now, your situation, your experiences, based on the lenses and the program of the past, it's going to become a very similar life, right? There is no novelty, there is no expansion, there is no new insight, you're not defined by a vision of the future, you are defined based on programs from the past. And this is how we must naturally live, right? We misuse our imagination to worry, to blame, to judge, to create worst case scenario, to survive, to just see ourselves getting by. And so often, without us even realizing, we misuse our energy, we misuse that tremendous creative power that we have to impress our mind again and again and again, to remain the same. So when things happen in your reality, you perceive it, you think about it, your attitude about it is based on how you always reacted to those things. I'm going to give you an example, right? Like when I started my business, my coaching business, it was hard to find clients, it was hard to make money, it was hard to make it, kind of thing, right? That was my friend of mine. But in my imagination, when I was visualizing or scripting or whatever, I saw myself thriving, right? I saw myself having clients and money and so on. But you see, one was future imagination based, one was memory based. It's always hard to make money, it's always hard to find clients, always, like you have that belief. The challenge is that I was giving far more importance, focus, energy on the old memory. It felt so true, right? That vision that I was visualizing every now and then and so on was like, okay, it's nice and stuff. But throughout the day, when something was happening, when I was doing my marketing, or when I was actively trying to grow my business, I was just met with those thoughts and that resistance again and again and again. And this happened so many times. When I wanted to make more money in my business or whatever, right? I felt like it's a lot of money. So I was thinking about the goal that I wanted, but I was like, it's a lot of money, it's too much money, kind of thing. So you see how perceiving certain experiences or perceiving what you want from the lens of the past, it feels off, it feels far, it feels like you're an imposter, it feels like you're never gonna get there, because you allow what is and what was to control your whole experience of this reality, your attitude about this reality. And so really what we have to learn is to deny what is, what was, so we can kind of like, blank out the screen and look with new eyes, as the Bible says, be in this world, but not of it. Like you have to be able to call things forth that are not as though they are now. And it's incredibly difficult to do that, because you need to be persistent, committed, aware of what goes on in your mind. And if you're new in this thing, it can require a tremendous amount of energy. It's like a freaking full-time job, right? It gets easier and easier as you go and you graduate and you impress your mind and you discipline your imagination and so on. But if you just land into this and you listen to that for the first time, you're like, oh my God, it's non-stop. Because the moment I stop paying attention, my mind is complaining and judging and criticizing, and I'm back into the old self, back into the old program. And it feels like there's no way out, right? But you can break this down, because it's not about perfection. It's about learning to discipline your imagination. And it all starts with self-awareness and with the intention that I can use my imagination to create, design the future that I want, the reality that I desire, and to believe in it, right? This is when imagination at some point becomes faith, becomes belief. And that's when it's really starts to like really being anchored in your unconscious mind, right? And so if we simplify, how do you do that? Well, you gotta do two things. You gotta learn to visualize. You gotta learn to visualize what you want. I talk a lot about this in this channel, right? You have to learn to create a mental picture of the goal that you have as already done. Yeah. And then the second thing, which is where most people don't do, is that you have to learn throughout the day, as you live your day and you go through your affairs and business or whatever, you have to learn to think as if it's already done. You have to learn to stop letting what is and your situation and your job and the world and your bank account and whatever it may be control the way you think. And this is where your imagination has to take over the old memory from the past. So when I told you the example earlier about my business, right, I could not let the old thought, oh, it's hard to find, there's no clients, there's no money, they won't pay me that much. Like I could not let that story go on, right? I could not wait for me to have clients, wait for me to be successful, wait for me to manifest it, and then change my freaking inner talk. It doesn't work this way, right? So I had to, no matter how, my lack of result was affecting me, I had to learn to be like, you know what? Clients find me, they just come. It's easy for me to attract clients. I'm very good at what I do. People love working with me. I had to actively choose to think like, how would I think if my business is booked out? How would I think if I already have the clients that I desire? How would I be thinking about this, right? If I was already making consistently the amount of money I want, would it still feel like a lot of money? Or would it feel like normal, like a standard? Right? Reflect on those things, right? Because this is so important. Like, how would you drastically see certain situation in your life, regarding what you're trying to create, what you're trying to do, to change and achieve in your life, right? Would you be, the question is like, how are you reacting now? And how do you need to respond instead in your mind with your attitude and how you show up? Because that is active use of imagination, and this world is built on people who believed and have faith in their imagination, in something greater. And you look at everything like this video, right? I'm making this video, I'm putting it somewhere on a freaking cloud, and you're watching it somewhere in the world. Like 100 years ago, that was unthinkable, right? When they didn't even have freaking cars and stuff, like that was unthinkable. Now we have people that are like actively trying to go on Mars and put like freaking civilization there. And for 99.9% of people, that's insane, right? My guess is that in 20, 30 years, we'll look back and be like, well, it's pretty normal, right? Like, let's go somewhere else now. So it's like, it doesn't matter if other people around you can't see it, as long as you can see and use that positive denial or positive delusion, if you want, to stop letting what used to define you based on all the crap in the past, and start to let something greater define you, to have a vision of your future defining your reality now. And so it happens in those small moments when you are able to think greater, to show up with a different attitude, instead of being judgmental, to be compassionate, instead of feeling scarcity when you spend or circulate money, to feel grateful for it, right? All those little moments comes down to living from imagination or living from old memories. And when you add them up, it makes a massive difference. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button. See you next time. Be well.